Everyone thinks Vincent van Gogh was an isolated genius who painted in complete solitude. But what if I told you that his most famous works were actually inspired by other artists? What if Starry Night, Sunflowers, and The Potato Eaters all contain hidden influences that art historians sometimes overlook? Did you know that Van Gogh owned dozens of reproductions of Millet's Peasants? In a letter to Theo in 1888, Vincent lists over 400 Japanese prints in his studio. Proof he wasn't alone in his artistry. Today, we're going to shatter the myth of Van Gogh as a lone creative force. We'll examine the specific artists and movements that shaped his distinctive style, revealing how this supposed isolated genius was actually a careful student of art history. The evidence has been there all along. His personal collection tells the complete story. Vincent van Gogh owned hundreds of Japanese woodblock prints, dozens of reproductions of Jean-François Millet's peasant paintings, and multiple art instruction books that he referenced obsessively throughout his career. His collection included works by Hiroshige, Hokusai, and other Ukiyo-e masters, alongside copies of paintings by Delacroix, Corot, and the Barbizon school artists. Art historians have meticulously documented this extensive collection, yet the popular narrative continues to ignore this overwhelming evidence of external influence. Vincent wrote detailed letters to his brother Theo about studying these works for hours at a time. He analyzed color choices with scientific precision and copied specific brushwork techniques with the dedication of an art student. In one letter from 1888, he describes examining Japanese prints to understand how artists achieved such vivid effects with limited color. His correspondence reveals a methodical approach to learning from other masters, describing exact elements he wanted to incorporate into his own compositions. We can see direct evidence in surviving studio photographs that Vincent surrounded himself with reproductions and prints. His walls displayed Japanese woodblocks and Millet reproductions he studied daily. He arranged these references where he could study them while painting. Vincent created exact copies of over 30 Japanese prints and multiple Millet paintings as learning exercises designed to help him understand specific techniques and approaches to composition. This systematic study completely contradicts every assumption about his supposed isolation from the contemporary art world. Vincent was not working in a vacuum, but was actively engaging with artistic traditions from multiple cultures and time periods. His studio functioned as a laboratory, where he experimented with combining different stylistic approaches. The myth of the isolated genius crumbles when we examine what Van Gogh actually kept in his studio and how he used these references as teaching tools. This habit of collecting shaped his first major style shift, one that arrived from across the globe. Japanese ukiyo-e prints became the catalyst for Van Gogh's most dramatic artistic evolution. In the summer of 1887, Vincent encountered these woodblock prints in Parisian shops, and this meeting would transform his art forever in ways that most people never recognize. His early Netherlands works used dark browns and greens, typical of his Dutch training. But after summer 1887, he embraced the bright hues of ukiyo-e. Within months of studying these prints, his entire approach to color, outline, and composition underwent a radical transformation. The change was so dramatic that art historians can pinpoint the exact period when Japanese influence began appearing in his work. His palette suddenly exploded with brilliant yellows, electric blues, and vibrant reds that had no precedent in his earlier paintings. Japanese prints taught him to use bold, unnatural colors and thick black outlines that would become signature elements of his mature style. These woodblock prints showed Van Gogh how artists could abandon realistic color in favor of emotional expression. Witness how sunflowers' yellows trace directly to the flat color planes in Japanese prints, where pure colors enhanced mood rather than mimicked reality. We can see this influence directly in paintings like The Bedroom, where flat color planes and decorative patterns mirror Japanese aesthetic principles. His famous Almond Blossoms series echoes Japanese compositional balance, with branch placement and background treatment that follows Ukiyo-e design principles. Van Gogh created direct copies of Hiroshige prints, studying how Japanese artists achieved emotional impact through simplified forms and unexpected color choices. What did these prints teach him that no Western painting could? The swirling patterns in Starry Night echo the stylized wave and cloud motifs found throughout Japanese woodblock printing, particularly in Hokusai's famous wave prints. Japanese art provided Van Gogh with a visual language that allowed him to express emotion through color and pattern, rather than realistic representation. This transformation reveals how artistic genius emerges not from isolation, but from the masterful synthesis of diverse influences. The evidence we've examined fundamentally changes how we understand artistic creation. Understanding Van Gogh's influences does not diminish his genius. It reveals the true nature of artistic innovation as synthesis rather than spontaneous creation. Van Gogh studied Japanese prints, Millet's peasants, Impressionist color, and Rembrandt's light with scientific precision. He absorbed these influences and transformed them into something completely original. Every great artist builds upon the work of others. Van Gogh's achievement lies in how masterfully he combined these diverse influences into his distinctive style. How many other so-called original masters actually spoke in the tongues of their predecessors? Next time you visit a gallery, look for these hidden lineages. The next time you see a Van Gogh painting, look for the hidden conversations between cultures and centuries that made his revolutionary approach possible. If this changed how you see Van Gogh, let me know in the comments below.